Hi and welcome back. I hope that by now you're subscribed to this channel. Today, we are meeting Manish Bandhan, the Chief HR Executive of Rogers Group, a group that employs some 5,000 people in over 13 countries in 7 business sectors, ranging from aviation, fintech, leisure, hospitality, logistics, real estate, and agribusiness. Manish has over 20 years of experience in the HR field and is a known speaker and an executive coach. Let's listen on his views on how to manage through uncertainty. So, Manish, thank you for being here. In your 20 years in HR, I'm sure it's the first time that you're seeing such a thing, and it's very unprecedented. You didn't even imagine that everyone would be working from home, or nearly everyone. How are you living that?
Yeah, I would say it is unprecedented. Indeed, it's a change which is going to impact the world, and our generation is faced with a totally new situation. At least those who are in the working world today, those who had faced such a difficult situation, I would say, were those who faced the World War II. After that, there's been a long period of peace, and not so much of a big change. So it is something completely new, a new normal which has set in. I would say we have 3 categories of people. We need to look at it from that perspective. The first category of people who are working, who I would call people in essential services, who are working in the field, on the ground, and making sure things are running. People like in the medical services, in logistics, in distribution, in retail, who are ensuring that the world keeps safe and keeps operating. The second category would be people like me and you, Roshan, who are working from home. I would say working from home only, it's living from home full-time, doing multiple roles full-time, as an employee, as a parent, as a teacher, as a household carer, as a family member. So everything is today clubbed together, and there's no more boundaries in that. And the third category, I would say, are people who are at home, but unfortunately who cannot work from home because of the nature of their job. So they are full-time staying at home. So we need to look at it from these 3 angles and see how we can motivate and stay and keep these 3 categories engaged.
So, Manish, in the group where you are, the Rogers Group, you have got people in all the 3 categories, and all the 3 need to be kept engaged. So how are you doing that? How are you keeping your people engaged? First of all, the people who are on the front. Second, how do you get people the discipline, the new habits of working from home, and also keeping those who are not working still in the loop?
So in a short way, what I would say is to keep people engaged, it involves a lot of communication and compassion. So reaching out to people, connecting with people to make sure they are safe, they are heard, and what are their needs, what are the challenges they're facing, so that we know how we can cater to that. So we've engaged a lot of communication with our teams on that sense. So be it people who are working on the ground or people who are at home. We put in place a whole comprehensive program called the Vivacis Resilience Program, which is really about our resilience program to manage the COVID situation. So it caters for all these populations. We have a lot of articles, a lot of tips, a lot of insights that we share with our teams, so that beyond just work, it's also tips how to keep safe, how to make sure you decontaminate your products when you're shopping. Over and above, how do you make work from home practical and effective for you?
All right. And you also wrote on your LinkedIn on the prolonged effects of a lockdown, and you called it a burnout. So how are you helping your people go through that potential burnout, especially not now, but after the lockdown is over and they have to get back to work and having gone through that burnout? How do you expect the recovery to happen?
So it starts with being aware. So that's why we wrote about it, confinement burnout. So it getting ingrained in your rituals on a daily basis, how you can better manage yourself, looking at your health set, at your nutrition, your sleep, how you manage your different activities at home so that you find your own balance. And when we have the deconfinement starts and we start to go back to work, people have that resilience that they've inbuilt in their habits.
And in terms of leadership, because you've got loads of leaders working in the group, what are the qualities that you feel that these leaders need to have today when they are having to manage people remotely and manage themselves?
I would say when it comes to leadership today, first is we need to understand that there's a new normal which has set in. So what it means in terms of leadership, I believe there are 5 key elements, what I would call the 5 E's of leadership in COVID times. The 5 E's would be, how do you lead with empathy? We need more empathy more than ever now from leaders to be able to engage with people, to understand the situation. The second one, I would say, is empowerment. As we have much more flexibility working from home, there's a requirement for empowerment of teams to happen with trust. So we empower people more. There is no other way. Third, I would say efficiency. As the world goes through contraction, economies are shrinking or are facing the brunt. There is a need for all leaders to drive for greater efficiency in the business. So everyone has to, as we say in French, serrer la ceinture. The fourth one, I would say, is enablement. E with a hyphen is how do you go digital more? COVID has just accelerated digitalization around the world. So as a leader, how can we make it more digital or electronic? And finally, focusing on the 5th E would be essential. So the focusing on the essential elements, there's a concept called essentialism, meaning we get people to focus on what matters, the 20% which make 80% impact.
So that's quite interesting, the 5 E's and really focusing on what has to happen. And you did talk about one of the things, empowering people and the trust level. So how do you get leaders to shift their mindset into trusting someone who's not physically there and managing someone who's not physically present? How do you see them coping with that shift?
It comes hand in hand. Trust comes hand in hand with accountability. Okay, so you need to give trust and at the same time develop accountable people. If someone is not being able to honor what he's supposed to do, then you have an issue, isn't it? Yeah. So for me, as I mentioned, it goes hand in hand. Accountability and trust and empowerment are tools that all leaders will have to use.
All right. And as mot de la fin, how do you see the future?
Well, how I see the future, I would say mankind as a species has always been agile. Agility is part of our DNA, as well as resilience. What I see is there's no coming back to the old normal. It's the old normal which has caused the situation of the world. And it's an opportunity for us now to learn from those mistakes, if there are mistakes, and there were mistakes, as well as some of the wins. So how do we make something much more sustainable for and ecological for everyone to be able to thrive?
Well, great, Manish. Thank you very much for those insights, and I'm sure that our viewers will really enjoy that.
Pleasure is mine.
I hope that you really enjoyed the insights of Manish Bandhan. I'd really like to hear your views and comments on everything that's being said and done up to now. Until the next interview, keep safe.